Brother lads, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. Mikel Arteta is fuming and spitting fire against the board and the ownership for not giving him at least one forward in January. He asked for it. It wasn't done, and he is speaking out. Now, this means Mikel Arteta was very clear about his intentions to bring in a new forward, but the board and the Kroenkes decided that it was too expensive to bring in someone in January. We have to wait until the summer. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Mikel is not happy with these guys, and like I said in my last video, this ownership is one of those that really just don't care about the club. I mean, they've spent some good money over the last 5 years, but that was because of the pressure that the fans put up during the Super League fiasco and then trying to back Mikel Arteta. For me, if you want to back a manager against Pep Guardiola, against Liverpool, you've got to back them all the way. But you look at the last two windows, Arsenal have been needing serious investment, and we've not really been up to the task. The summer was a disastrous catastrophe. We don't need to talk about that. And January was worse. And I mean, imagine something worse than a disastrous catastrophe. So what does Mikel Arteta say? What does it mean? Could we lose our manager? I'm really scared because, I really kind of talk negatively about Mikel Arteta, but I respect him as a manager. I know what he's done for this club, and I would never ever want him to leave this club. He's done a lot for the club so far in his 5 years. So Mikel Arteta has been speaking to the media, and he was asked about the intentions of the club. Why didn't we sign a forward? Why did we sign a striker? Despite the fact that we had talks with Shesko, there were talks with Matistel and Bayern, there were talks with Aston Villa for Watkins. We had passed the terms agreed for Watkins as well. What went wrong? Why didn't we sign a forward? Mikel Arteta, his response says, we have had clear intentions, which is always there in the window, open to explore opportunities to improve the squad with players that can impact it. He says, we haven't achieved that, and we are very disappointed in that sense. But as well, we are very aware that that we only want to bring in a certain type of players, and we have to be very disciplined with that. And I think we are disciplined there. Now, if the words from Mikel literally are so sharp to the management, to the board, he has literally gone, guys, don't blame me. I asked the Kroenkes to bring in someone. I told them I need a forward. I told them I need a striker, and they decided to do nothing. I want to take you back. If you remember the press conferences Mikel was running in January, there is a recurring theme that we talked about. If you remember, there was a recurring theme that we talked about. And that recurring theme was Mikel saying every single press conference, we are trying to do something. We are sure something will be done. We are less in numbers, we are less in quality, and we have not spent well. We've not built our squad well. If you compare us to Liverpool, if you compare us to Manchester City, these guys have built their squads for 10 years. And for us, we are trying to build our squad for 5 years. We can't match them. We can't compete with them at the moment. And he's so right, he's so true. If you look at the likes of Virgil van Dijk, Salah, Alisson, how long have they been at Liverpool? If you look at Ederson at Manchester City, you look at the likes of John Stones, how long have they been at Manchester City? A very long period of time. And therefore, Mikel is saying these teams have invested time, they have invested resources, and they have invested patience, and a lot. I need more resources, I need more players, and the players are not coming. I think if you're Mikel Arteta, you've got to be disappointed. Mikel has asked for a winger to back up Saka for a long time. Remember, guys, it was in the summer of 2020 when Arsenal started sniffing around wingers, right? Then there came Mykhailo Modric, there came Nico Williams, there came Noah Lang. There were so many names. Jared Bowen at some point in time in 2022. Mikel has been singing this song. Can I get someone I can rely on? I think there was a time when he pointed to Muhammad Kudus. That was last summer, but one, he said, you could get me Muhammad Kudus. He's available for 40 million euros. He's going to do a fantastic job. And Arsenal said, well, and they spoke English, right? I mean, they spoke a complicated language, just to be clear. So he's been asking for a winger to back up Saka, and this has happened, right? This has happened. Saka is injured. We don't have someone to cover up apart from a panic buy in Raheem Sterling and the miraculous Nonwere. And Arsenal is like, well, we needed to get someone in. And that's when we're trying to sign Matistel. That's when we are panicking with Nico Williams, all players that cannot be attained in January. And then you think about the striker situation. Mikel has been asking for a striker for a long time. From the days of Dusan Vlahovic, he's been singing about it, right? He's been, there's been a lot of back and forth, pushing and pulling between Arteta and the board and whoever is in charge. Can I get a striker? Can we get a striker? He's been asking for it for a long time and it didn't come. And this time, he is really, really frustrated. Now, there are a couple of talking points on this one. First and foremost, why Mikel is right to be disappointed is this. How did Edu leave his position as sporting director and Arsenal were not aware prior? Because this is the thing. A sporting director should not be allowed to leave, or if they leave, they should be replaced adequately towards a very crucial transfer window. January for us was not like any other January transfer window. It was an important window. It was a very, very crucial window. So it was a window where Arsenal needed to get a winger to back up Saka, because Saka was not, expected to play in Jan and Feb. It was a window where Arsenal needed a striker. It was clear. And even the manager who trusts his players, he always says, I trust my players, I trust my players, I trust my players. It reached a point where the manager said, listen, if I can get a forward, we should get a forward. We are light in quality and also in numbers. And we did nothing. And for me, I'm going to say, it's on the board, it's on the Kroenkes. Edu should have been allowed to leave after January, or he should have let the club know a little bit earlier on, prepare well, bring in a new sporting director so that by the time we get to January, we have a guy that can go and negotiate deals. The problem with having an interim sporting director, and I remember saying this before January, that the problem with having an interim sporting director is this. If you have an interim sporting director, you're not going to allow him to do long-term deals. I mean, he's not part of the long-term vision of the club. So how he's not going to be accountable for those signings in that role for a long period of time. So how do you expect him to negotiate deals for you that are going to be costing the club hundreds of millions? So Arsenal having an interim sporting director, that alone caused a lot of, disbelief in the system. Do we allow him to go and sign Šeško, right? Do we allow him to go and do this deal? What if he does it wrongly? What if he does it in a way that the permanent sporting director that will arrive in a short period of time from now doesn't want or doesn't like? So because you have someone temporary, you can't then allow him to do big deals. And this is not a guy that is, was externally, outsourced, and therefore he has a lot of experience in the position. This is just a guy that was promoted to fill the position. Temporarily, he will go back to his position. So what I want to say is Mikel was let down right from the fact Edu left, from the point that Edu left, and the management didn't quickly bring in someone capable. We had to bring in someone capable and we failed to do that. That's number one. Number two, we've had a lot of talks, guys. I mean, the manager was sure that someone was coming in because we've had a lot of talks and we ended up with no one, right? It's so disappointing, honestly. It's very, very disappointing. I mean, think about this. Arteta, right, was convinced that we would get Šeško because there were talks with Šeško, right? There were talks with Šeško and there were talks with RB Leipzig. Talks were held. And the deal didn't happen. So why the deal didn't happen is Leipzig was saying, you'll have to pay us over 80 million euros to get Šeško in January. If you're not giving us over 80 million euros, we're not giving you the guy. For Christ's sake, right? Can we be flexible a little bit? This is your long-term target. You're going to pay around 70 million euros for Šeško in the summer. Add an extra 10 on top and get the guy. He is part of the long-term targets. He's part, I mean, we tried to sign him in the summer. If we signed Šeško, no one would have gone, listen, he's a quick fix. It's not a quick fix. We wanted him in the summer. We've got him in January. Same thing. Okay, we didn't get Šeško. There were talks and personal terms were agreed with Matheus Cunha. So if Matheus Cunha's talks were, terms were agreed, and the player purposely halted, right, talks with Wolverhampton Wanderers over his new deal, waiting for something to materialize with Arsenal, we didn't even make a bid. So if you're Mikel, you've got to be angry. Like, personal terms, not an issue with Matheus Cunha. Arsenal don't make a bid. Then we go over to Ollie Watkins. They asked for 60 million euros. We bid 40. What happened to negotiating that price at around 45, 48, or maybe 50, right? An extra 10 million for me on that deal, I could have done it. Because Villa know that is very good money for their FFP situation. Again, it's a dead deal. Let's talk about Matthias Tel. Matthias Tel, Arsenal convinced they can do a deal on loan, but with an obligation, says Bayern. Arsenal walk away. What do Tottenham do? They sign him on a loan deal with no option or obligation to buy. Like, how does it get more disappointing than that? Does it get more disappointing than that? If you're Mikel, it doesn't get more disappointing than that, right? And this is the manager under pressure, under fire, that he's got to win. But he's under fire, and the last two windows have been drastically rubbish, pure garbage, right? We've been making idiotic bids, idiotic moves in January, and in the summer, I don't know what we were doing. Like, I really don't know what we are doing. So Mikel has finally spoken out on the position, and he said, I asked for these players. I asked for a forward. I am disappointed, right? And I'm aware that the players that we want to bring in, certain players, right? Isak, Nico Williams, Martin Zubimendi. But why, like it's ironic, why your management would go and sign Zubimendi? Like, you've given them a list of players that you want, and they go, okay, we could see Zubimendi here. Let's get him for the summer. Like, bloody hell, it's January. Can I get the priorities right now in January? And then you have like 4 months to work on the Martin Zubimendi deal. 4 bloody months. January, February, March, April, May, that's 5. June, that's 6. July, that's 7 months you have. And then you go and do the deal in January. It's impressive, it's good. It is not necessary. Thank you. If it was Isak that we had done in January, well, probably would have been very impressive. But we could do the Zubimendi deal in the summer, and he would still be an Arsenal player. So what I'm afraid of, and this comes at a bad time because I have just watched the Fabregas interview on why Fabregas left Arsenal. This is what he said. I was working my, ass off. I was giving the club everything, 100%. And yet I was not seeing any kind of ambition, right? I was not seeing what Manchester United were doing was not reflecting at Arsenal. What Barcelona were doing to become better was not reflecting at Arsenal. We were working so hard, and yet in the end, the club was not even trying to bring in better players for us to win. So I had to go. I became frustrated. I suffered from burnout. Could Mikel Arteta suffer from burnout? If Mikel Arteta gets frustrated with this management, right? Because he has been meticulous. He has been so vital to the project that we have. He's been so vital to the culture that has come back at the club. Someone told me in the comment box below, and by the way, thank you for that comment. If you recognize this, you said that you don't know what you're talking about. Mikel Arteta has brought back the spirits at Arsenal, and he's improved the culture that when the fans see a draw, they feel like it's a loss. Thank you so much for that comment. Like, it just opened up my mind. I think this manager deserves a lot of backing. And like I said in the summer, I will not say Arteta out. I will keep Arteta in because I'm still positive about him. I'm still convinced about him. This board has got to work on things. Like the summer better be good. The summer better be good because if this is our last chance, right? I mean, we expected to go trophyless now. We expected to go trophyless. For me, an Ollie Watkins signing would have elevated our chances of winning the Premier League, would have made our chances of winning the Champions League better. Can you believe that Manchester City and Real Madrid, the two clubs that you're like, woo, I mean, Champions League, they're facing each other off for a playoff position in the UEFA Champions League round of 16. Like, one of Man City and Real Madrid are already eliminated from the Champions League. That gives you like a level field. And you know who I want to go through? I want Manchester City to go through because over 2 legs, with how bad they are, I think we can do a job on them. But how is the manager supposed to activate all these possibilities without getting the backing that he's asking for? I think the Kroenkes have done a good job with the Mikel Arteta project, but the nuts are starting to feel loose, right? It is no longer as tight as it was, and it's getting disappointing. So Mikel says he's disappointed with the Kroenkes and the board that he did get the players he wants. Now, let's wait until the summer. If the summer doesn't come good, this Arsenal project could actually be going for, a disaster ending. And yet, it's looking very, very good. Hit that button. I'll speak to you on the other end.